Shut up and sit down.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Fight for Liberty show. Today, we are joined by a very special guest and a good friend of mine. He is the West Coast Deputy Regional Director for Young Americans for Liberty. He was my boss while I was in Michigan earlier this year. Justin Jackson, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, David. I'm excited. I've never seen one of your podcasts, to be honest, but I've had long conversations with you, so it should be pretty interesting.
Yeah. There. I think did I drive you completely insane or only like halfway there, debating random political stuff?
Oh no, I love the political. So I love listening to one of the things I listen to on YouTube are radicals, I guess you could say, like Kyle Kalinske, to people like Ron Paul. I don't consider me Ron Paul radical, but or even Kyle Kalinske, but I just like listening to those type of guys. So no, you're definitely an interesting opinions.
All right. Well, I like to start off every first time appearance by going over like your political testimony. Basically, like what happened in your life and who affected your life that got you to believe what you do politically.
Sure. Um, I don't. I think I've always been some type of, I guess, libertarian. I never actually in high school I was on this I was in this like mini political club, and they took us up to Sacramento, and I didn't like politics. I thought politics was this nerd thing, boring thing to do at the time. I was like, I don't know how anyone could like this. And then I got into politics when everyone else did the 2016 election. I just thought everything was very interesting. And I just watched videos about like social politics at the time. Like there is this thing on YouTube called the skeptic community.
Hmm.
At the time, it was like about atheism and feminism and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And they were like uh, analyze that kind of stuff, and that kind of got transitioned me to other YouTubers like Dave Rubin or Steven Crowder, or even some fringe ones. And that's kind of how I started to develop my beliefs. And then in like my sophomore year of college, I found Young Americans for Liberty, and I thought it was a very interesting organization because I came into college pretty conservative, but I realized a lot of the contradictions of the Republican Party,
Hmm.
like the big spending. I'm like, okay, yeah, Republicans do spend a lot, um, and
Just a
you
little.
know, yeah, no, just a little bit. But no, Young Americans for Liberty, it kind of, I started to transition into a more libertarian philosophy, and then I interned with Yale, and being around all those people with very strong passion beliefs, kind of I realigned myself to theirs. So nothing like too crazy. Just I have a general philosophy of live and let live. I don't really care. The basic
Right.
libertarianism, basically. So the political, the politics fit just right in with
Hmm.
what like for my foundation.
I love that. I talk a decent amount especially in the most recent episodes of like the dichotomy between libertarian policy and libertarian philosophy.
Yeah.
And you can be for the decriminalization of all drugs, but not actually live out a philosophy of uh, understanding and acceptance and like coexistence, and that's I think a big deal. I also think it's interesting. Like I came into the Libertarian Party basically because of like two issues. It was the only party that agreed on guns and drugs.
Oh yeah.
Like I didn't smoke yet, but I understood. I had a lot of friends that did, and I understood that it shouldn't be illegal. And so when 2016 happened, I like Hillary and Trump, like neither of them agreed on with me on both of those things. Gary Johnson did. And then I got to delve into why taxation is theft and why we should have recreational rocket launchers and all of these other points of libertarianism. But like I came in under those two, and then I have a lot of friends like yourself that kind of figured out this philosophy and then found out that oh, there's this thing in politics that embodies that. Let me go do that.
Hmm. No, yeah, exactly. No, that's great. Um, you know, it was honestly a very it's and a very interesting journey going through politics, and I'm still adjusting my beliefs on certain issues like abortion, immigration. Just it's
Hmm.
constantly changing. I'm just trying to find the best way to or just like the best kind of policy that fits my uh, philosophical foundations.
Hmm. My boss likes to carry over kind of a science principle into politics. It's strong opinions loosely held. It's like believe what you believe and believe it to the fullest extent, but when you're proven wrong, switch. Like,
Mhm,
just don't cling to it, but believe it fully, and don't be half-assed about it, but be okay with changing your beliefs when you're proven wrong or shown something new or exposed to a new ideology.
No, yeah, exactly. I have one friend. She interned with me at Young Americans for Liberty at the time, and you cannot debate this girl on immigration like at all. Like I would never, I would never even try to mention anything because she has just all this information. She knows
Right
what
or left? Where was she on it?
she was I guess you could say left libertarian when it comes to
Okay.
immigration. She was if you consider she was open borders. Um, that could I'm so confused on what exactly someone might mean about open borders. I don't know if they want like a patch of grass or they want a more easy or just kind of a revolving door kind of
Mhm.
work uh, uh, policy. But this is what she said. She was open borders, and you could not. I could not figure out a way to like prove this girl wrong. So I would never. So I would never. So I don't embarrass myself. I just wouldn't bring it up with her. But no, she was awesome though. No, she was libertarian, obviously. She was very big on criminal justice and immigration. But no, she was great. So it's stuff like that that I try to listen to other people on. Because I know like my philosophical foundations, and I never want to contradict myself, but sometimes I feel like I do, especially when it comes to things like immigration or the military or something like that.
Right. There's definitely parts of our upbringing that, somewhat are ingrained. Like I'm the same way. I grew up in a military family, so it's really weird for me to be like, yeah, it's great that Trump vetoed the NDA.
Mhm.
Like,
You did do that today, huh? I heard about
yeah.
it. I just saw a thumbnail, but I didn't look into it.
Uh-huh. I mean, it was all about Section 230. Like, he doesn't care about the defense budget. He's signed that a bunch of times. Uh, but, I'm sitting here being like, yay, that's great. And then I said that to my dad, who's a Marine, and he was like, oh, great. And I was like, hmm.
What did the NDAA do exactly?
Well, so it it stands for National Defense Allocation something, I think. It's just the annual budget for the defense
Oh,
department.
okay.
So it passes every year. But just like how they tacked on the Corona relief thing to the omnibus bill, which is basically just the annual congressional budget,
Yeah.
uh, they tack shit into the NDAA every year. It ends up getting bigger and bigger, and it's where we get a lot of like minute government overreach. And included this year was something that would have repealed Section 230 of another law, which has to do with tech law.
Hmm.
They would have affected like social media companies. I don't know where I actually fall on that argument, but all I know is that that's why Trump vetoed it. It had nothing to do with like caring about government spending or federal overreach or the defense budget or anything like that.
Hmm.
Unfortunately.
Ever since I've been in politics, well, I guess not ever since, but at least for a year now, I've never understood why uh, our politicians would stuff everything into like, a budget bill. It happened or at least it was going to happen in California. They were going to use a budget to ban this new type of firearm because it wasn't a rifle or a handgun. Technically, I don't know if you can hear my dog, but apologize for that.
You're
But
good.
uh, and which I don't know how you could make something illegal in a budget. Like I don't know. Maybe I need to be in office to understand how that exactly works. But
Well,
you know,
it's basically you have to make voting no worse than voting yes. So if you put it in the same budget that includes a park in your neighborhood and a raise for all the soldiers and your own raise and a bunch of other things that you like, it's like, all right, it puts those people on the fence at a much more difficult spot because like this COVID bill, like there was only 2 Democrats and 50 Republicans in the House that voted no.
mhm,
And they got slaughtered in the media for a full 48 hours until Trump said that he was going to veto it.
yeah,
And because it's like, oh, you don't want this stimulus package that would give us a check for $600. It's like, no, I didn't want $1.3 billion going to a firearms program in Egypt.
yeah,
Like um so you have to put people in the position that like AOC was in, where she ended up voting yes because she was afraid of the backlash of voting no on those stimulus checks.
mhm,
And uh Cuomo did that to us in New York. He changed the voter threshold for ballot access for the or for third parties in the emergency COVID budget in April. And yeah,
crazy.
gotta love authoritarian bullshit.
I don't even know why you would like do that. If you feel that the third party isn't a threat to you, then why would you try to?
So there is a fun story behind that one. In 2018, he got primaried by a woman named Cynthia Nixon, and she pulled like high 30s%, low 40s in the primary. And then the Working Families Party, which is typically just a mirror for the Democrats they run, like Biden was on their line. They're mostly the same candidates. They
Mhm,
offered her their line, so that she would have been able to continue to challenge him in through the general election.
mhm,
Uh, which would have been a huge detriment to Cuomo's reelection campaign. It actually might have meant a Republican victory. Like it could have done a lot of damage. She turned down the line, and that didn't happen. And Cuomo got 72% of the vote and won his reelection in a landslide. But just the ability to challenge this authoritarian dictator in a general election, he didn't like that idea. And so he raised the threshold. Ironically enough, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got over 3 times the votes that they needed on the Working Family Party line to still maintain that ballot access. He fucked over the Green Party and the Libertarians, but didn't get the party he was aiming at.
yeah, it's crazy, man. I can never understand how any person can want to tell so many people how to live their life or what to do, on under threat of force, under threat like something like the police.
Mhm.
So, like, Eric Garcetti and Gavin Newsom, like, I can't understand that feeling. I don't know. I mean, I've never had real power either. So,
Right.
um, so
Power
maybe,
corrupts.
yeah, that's fair. Um, but even someone, I guess, someone like Christy Nome she obviously isn't perfect, um,
Mm.
but at least, she's not as bad as some of these more really every other governor in the country.
She is actually pretty high up on my shit list right now.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, she's opposing medical marijuana legalization in her state. It passed through ballot initiative, and she is trying to put it into the courts to get that stopped.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, not only medical but recreational passed. The state decided they wanted it, and she's trying to stop both of those. I liked how she handled COVID, and I liked her rhetoric, but that kind of I
No,
lost
yeah.
a lot of faith in her after that one.
No, yeah, yeah, of course, yeah. And like I said, she isn't perfect, which I don't know her argument for. The only argument I could even, which isn't, I would assume this is her rationale. I assume her rationale is like, I don't know, crime. That's the only like rationale, or like the slippery slope argument. That's really the only rationale I could see her making. Which
All of her arguments against it are like super Reagan Nixon era, like reefer madness. She literally said, this is a direct quote, "I've never met anyone that got smarter from smoking pot."
I
And like,
mean,
that's not true. You've met me.
I
You know,
don't know.
you
I
know.
mean, I've never met anyone who's got smarter from drinking alcohol either or smoking cigarettes. You know,
Right.
all these,
We're
all
doing
these,
most things like watching TV or eating at McDonald's. Like, are we gonna just outlaw everything that makes people dumber? Because
no.
if you're gonna carry that out, go through with it. I want to see it. I think, you know, fun little thought experiment. If you want to be an authoritarian dictator and try to like make everyone the best that they can be like China. All right, sure, but
No,
don't make it just about pot. Like that's just not right.
yeah, exactly. Like I don't even know why Republicans haven't hopped on. I feel like this can be like a solid Republican issue
Mhm.
in going into the future, since the country is just generally getting more pro weed. So, if it's a lot of things. If the Democrats control the issue, then yeah, they're probably gonna win. That's uh, I guess you could say that's a big reason. What's her name? The governor of Michigan. Um,
Um, Gretchen Whitmer.
yeah, Gretchen Whitmer. Like you heard in 2018 there was that big ballot. I think it was 2018. It was a big weed ballot initiative, and that brought a lot of Democrats out.
Yep, and that's
Um,
why she won. It's the
yeah,
only
yeah.
reason she won. She's not gonna win re-election.
You think so? You don't think so?
Um, so when we were there together, out west, I heard we're talking to almost entirely Republicans, so I took everything they said with a grain of salt. Then I went back, just before you guys got back there, and I was petitioning in like downtown Detroit, like a gay
Mm,
rights petition,
okay.
and so I mean, these are like liberal Democrats I'm talking to all day, and it's fuck this woman. She's a horrible, terrible, evil dictator.
Wow.
Um, I was getting people to sign both the gay rights petition and the Unlock Michigan petition at the same time because they were just like, yeah, gay people are great, but this governor's not. And it was awesome. I got to meet some actual like big L libertarians, a few of them in Detroit, which was cool. I didn't know that we existed in in other places. You kind of get into this echo chamber of like we only exist on Twitter, and
Mhm.
the seven of us that go to the county meetings, and
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
really
Michigan's a very unique state. Didn't Georgia got like 60,000 votes in the state, right? I think so.
something like that. Yeah, she did well out there. There was a time where she was actually winning in a county in Michigan.
Really?
Yes. And then all of a sudden she wasn't anymore. But this was the most secure election in American history.
Oh,
So we can't question.
dude, honestly, as things go on, like I'm starting just to. I don't think it was anywhere near the most secure. Definitely.
Oh no. Oh
like
no.
like this is a brand new way, not a brand new way of voting, but on a mass and on a massive stage. It's a brand new way of how we're doing the voting,
Hmm.
and how anyone could think that that won't cause any type of fraud, like is insane, honestly. Um,
Right.
so
Yeah,
uh,
I mean, no election is secure. Like, just there is basic human error, especially with the mail-in voting. Like there was a lot of votes that were counted, like people that voted twice that everybody was all up in arms about. Um, and some of those cases I was reading about specifically, the person voted by mail back in like September when the ballots went out.
mhm,
And then election day came around and everyone everywhere was telling them, go vote, go vote, go vote, go vote. They went and voted.
yeah,
They forgot that they had already voted.
it
like
it's
like people are kind of silly sometimes. Like there's gonna be some things wrong with the election. So when you try to tell me, oh no, there's no possible way that it was meddled with, it's like
yeah.
you didn't see anything.
In California, we just sent out just, just ballots to the whole all of the voter rolls. Which
Yeah.
how does that how does that not open things to fraud?
Yeah.
You're sending things to people who probably haven't voted in years, or probably are dead, or maybe they died shortly after. When we went knocking, there
Mm.
were people on our list that were
Yeah.
like 98, and they probably died the previous day or that day.
Right. Like anyone who's done anything in politics knows that voter registration data is some of the most inaccurate data in existence. It
Mhm,
sucks. Like, so yeah, when you're sending something to every voter like that, New York did a similar thing. Uh it's just why? Just don't do that. That's a
mhm,
bad life choices are made there. Uh
mhm.
and you also just have, again, the less nefarious side of it, that you're taking all of the difficulty of voting away. So um hypothetically, your mom is always super annoying about go vote, go vote, go vote, and you never vote because fuck voting. Who cares? Now all you have to do is check a couple of boxes on the piece of paper that she's handing you 7 times a day, and then fold it up, lick it, and hand it back to her, and she'll go mail it. Like you're gonna vote.
Mhm.
Like it's just to appease people, I think, was half of the reason why we had an extra, what, 20-25 million people vote this year than ever before.
Yeah. And
So
I forgot what year. Maybe it was like sometime in 2019. But there was an assemblyman in California who wanted to make voting mandatory, like how Australia has it. Uh,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. It was very. I'm like, this is literally like the antithesis of being an American. like you can't get any more un-American than this. Like we literally have the right not to vote. I don't know what was going through his mind. I think he was just trying to get higher voter turnout. But um,
Democrats win better that way.
no, yeah, exactly, man. It's and we voted down um, on the initiative to have 17-year-olds vote in the primaries. Uh, so that was very interesting. The ballot initiatives in California is very interesting. I don't know if that's a sign that California is starting to turn, or um, or something like that. But we did get like four candidates in southern. It was really Southern California, back to red. I think a lot of them turned blue, like it's in Orange County and like LA area.
Yeah.
There was a lot of There's one woman named Michelle Steele in Orange County. She's pretty great. Um, but I don't know. I'd want to make her Speaker of the House if the Republicans take over, but um, but being a freshman congressman, probably not. But
Probably not.
yeah, you
There's
think?
a few freshman congresswomen that would be okay with that. I would be okay with that. I don't know if you were paying attention to Nancy Mason, South Carolina, at all. That
No.
was the Yale candidate. Well, kind of. Um, it was a mobilize the message candidate,
Okay.
but she's pretty badass.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I don't agree with her on everything. She's the first female graduate of the Sentinel, which is like a really prestigious like military-ish private school south
Okay.
in Charleston. Uh, she was a state house rep, and she's I think early 30s, just gorgeous young badass woman that just kicked the person she beat. Like I worked that campaign, and I still didn't think that she was gonna win just because of who she was running against. He's just really good. He's the first Democrat in that district for like 20 some odd years. Just smooth talking, like JFK style. Big tent Democrat Party, Southern gentleman, also like mid 30s, extremely attractive. Just checked all of the boxes politically, and I was like, there's no way. And then he also like hadn't done anything wrong, right? None of his
Mhm.
votes were super one-sided. There was nothing that people were saying bad about him really when we were knocking on their doors. I Even though people that had Nancy Mace signs were still like, yeah, Cunningham, he's a good guy, but the Nancy, like, it was like the most positive campaign I've ever seen, ever. Both sides of it. Like everyone was just like, yeah, these guys are both awesome. I don't even know who I'm going to vote between. The only campaign that I heard that out of, knocking doors
Yeah.
for Trump or Lindsey Graham or anybody, even Chase, it was like very one-sided, but it was nice,
Mhm.
refreshing to see two good candidates go against each other.
Yeah. 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 Do you
I
think?
did agree with
So you
both.
think Trump can still pull a win out?
Haha, no.
No.
So he could have until the Electoral College voted.
Hmm.
Like, and if you pay attention to the presidential election, election day is not. It doesn't matter. It it's not. It has nothing to do with the presidential election. You know
Yeah.
how the states vote influences the Electoral College, and then they vote, and then we have a president. But once the Electoral College picked Biden, no, I don't think he
Hmm.
can do anything.
So I was don't hate me too much, but I was scrolling TikTok and I was and I learned this.
Communist propaganda machine.
I did, but I did see. So it was this video that explained what Congress people could still do. So on January, I think 6th, when the Congress has a joint session to certify the electoral votes, uh, you need a House member and a Senate member to challenge the electoral votes in any particular state. And I think they might have some type of merit to it, and if they have some type of merit, then both chambers go, both houses of Congress go to the respective chambers and vote. I don't know if it's a majority vote in each chamber, or they have a delegates vote if there's a tie, like something called the Electoral Protection Act. Some people wanted to do it when Trump was elected. I came across a video when they were certifying the votes in 2017, and it was I think her was it Rashida Tlaib? I think it was Rashida Tlaib, and another House member. They were trying to challenge the electoral votes, but Biden was like, and then the president of the Senate, Biden was like, no, the election's over. You didn't like you have no. I can't entertain your argument because you don't even have a senator that's backing you up. So so technically it's not over just yet, which it's crazy. It's crazy stuff like all these elections. I don't know if any senator is going to come out and challenge it. I don't know, maybe Rand Paul. I know he has a strong opinion about it, but we'll just have to see on January 6th. 2020 might not be over, even when it's over.
That would be an unfortunate reality.
But
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. I don't know who deems the legitimacy of the argument, If you have those two people that say, "Okay, no, we want to challenge it." Uh how many people have to agree with that before it's
Mm,
able to go to the
no.
vote?
I know Mitch McConnell just wants the Republicans to recognize Biden as the president when he
Right.
does get inaugurated. I mean, once he gets inaugurated, they're going to have to. But right now, he wants them to acknowledge it as a legitimate election.
Right. Yeah,
And
without Mitch McConnell on his side, I don't think Trump's gonna really get much more through.
I don't think so. I mean, a lot of Trump supporters, they don't really, at least the Trump. It's funny because now there's like a Trump portion of the party. Trump is like his
Hmm.
own like kind of political affiliation within the Republican Party. I don't know what to describe them as. Maybe like anti-establishment or just some type of new type of Republican. And a lot of those Republicans don't like Mitch McConnell right now. So I don't know. Who knows? I mean, it doesn't really matter across the country. It just matters who in Kentucky likes Mitch McConnell. But
Right. Which apparently everybody,
no,
or
yeah,
not everybody, but more people than you would think based off of voter rolls.
no, yeah, yeah. It's just very interesting about Kentucky. You have Rand Paul, you have Thomas Massey, and then some state level candidates, state level officials, and then you have Mitch McConnell. It's
Right.
just this other type of Republican in Kentucky, this establishment guy. Um, I don't know what wants makes these people want to vote for him. Maybe it's an incumbent thing, but who
Right.
knows? Uh,
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I wanted to kind of give you a chance to respond because I mean, you and I have had these conversations, and on the show, conversations have happened. There is criticism to be shared for Yao and their choice of candidates. I'm
sure,
curious. Um, I fully understand the idea of committing to an organization and supporting that, especially when it's your job. Uh, so I want to hear kind of your side of it, of how you reconcile sometimes when the candidate doesn't line up with what you believe.
sure. So I'm not in the process of choosing our candidates.
Hmm.
I don't know how I can see when we endorse a candidate, I'm on that campaign. I can see their application, but obviously, I don't hear the interviews. I don't talk to these guys, um, so I can't completely, defend everything Al does. But not every candidate is going to be, perfect. It's not going to be all Ron Paul, end the Fed,
Right.
recreational nukes, so stuff like that, and they're going to be very liberty, but it could be in their respective states. So, like something like Idaho, in general, at least on a political level, is anti-drug. When we were in Idaho, we got attacked by the establishment.
Right.
Um, so, some of our people could be uh, pro medical marijuana, but not recreational.
Right.
Obviously, I want both. Um, but obviously, not every candidate is going to be perfect. So it's stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's deal breakers that Yao has. There's deal breakers that I have. If you're like, I mean, for me, if you're like any type of anti-gun, then I don't really want to. I don't really want to like talk to like. I love. Don't get me wrong. I love like someone like Tulsi. I
Mhm.
don't like her, gun policy. I don't know
Right.
if I would vote for someone like her. I mean, if the Republican was horrible, then yeah, I vote Tulsi. But
Right.
but
If it
that's
was Tulsi versus Dan Crenshaw, then
oh yeah,
an easy
I'd,
choice there.
yeah, I'd go for Tulsi definitely. But yeah, that's how I kind of like I guess reconcile type of endorsing of the candidates. Not everyone's gonna be perfect, but uh, you you take uh, those kind of things into consideration when you're going into different states. A New Hampshire Republican is going to be different than an Idaho Republican. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, they're crazy over in New Hampshire. So
That is true. That was a fun time. I got a lot more guns pulled on me in New Hampshire than any of the other states that I've worked in the last year and a half.
uh,
That's for sure.
no, yeah, it's crazy. I think we control their state house now, so at least we flipped it in this cycle. So or at the very least, we have enough votes to make uh, a strong difference, a significant difference in the state.
Yeah, the
Um,
Liberty Caucus within the New Hampshire State House is huge.
yeah, yeah.
It's
So that
awesome.
could be fun things to see. Uh,
Maybe they'll finally legalize. Well, the thing is, the state house has already passed marijuana legalization like 3 times.
mhm.
So
It's
now
it's a
it's the Senate and the governor that have both opposed it.
oh
So
really okay.
so you need
Sununu,
yeah,
that's his name.
yeah. I don't understand that one because I I don't understand why he didn't support it, but it didn't pass the Senate anyway, so it's not like he vetoed it, but he also didn't like encourage the senators to pass it.
Hmm.
It was kind of a weird scenario. But they're an island of prohibition. Every state that borders them has recreational cannabis,
Oh really?
and they're just like this tiny little island of people that don't wear seatbelts but also don't smoke weed.
We're crazy, but we're not that crazy.
Right. I do
Um,
love pointing that one out because they have a higher than national average compliance with seatbelts, even though it's not mandated.
mhm.
Um, which I mean, to be fair, I think the national average is like somewhere in the high 50% or 60s, low 60s of people that actually wear their seatbelt. It's a ridiculously low number. So not a high bar for New Hampshire to pass, but they are higher than the national average, even though it's not a law there.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
Uh,
So politics is kind of a fun little career path that you and I are both on. And
mhm.
you know, Yao actually, like we're talking about, gets to actively and effectively change state legislatures and policy within the states. So I'm curious, what would you identify as like some of the more rewarding parts of being able to have a full-time job in the liberty movement?
It's just knowing you're making a different. You're fighting for something, real and is worth fighting for. You
Yeah.
know, it on others. When you look at some of these establishment Republicans, they can talk the talk, but they obviously they vote differently. They use it as they're doing something for a career, and power, and they actively get scared when someone tries to challenge that, because they're not fighting for anything real, you
Mhm.
know at least that's how I see it. So what's rewarding is just when you fight. It can be very damaging when you lose, because you can't win them all,
Mhm.
obviously. Like in Michigan with Chase. But
That hurts.
yeah, no, that campaign really hurt. The opponent just ran up like Novi area, just what we expected, and she beat it. She like killed us in absentee voting. Um, that was the county. It was a very swing county. That was the county Trump targeted when he was in Michigan. You know,
Right.
uh, so but yeah, like um,
Did Biden win the county too?
um, He probably did. I didn't look into Biden's win, but
That would make sense. I couldn't imagine anyone voting for Trump and not Chase.
no, yeah, exactly. Well, I don't know how all this is a story I heard from Chase that he was talking with a voter, and a Democrat just randomly walks up to him and say, "Oh, I'm a Democrat, but I'm voting for you because he's he's a decent guy, a little
Mm.
good church boy." Um, so he's saying he's very likable. Like, I don't know how you
Yeah.
not like I don't I, like you may not want to vote for him because of your values. But I don't know how you not like him. But
Mhm.
but anyway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Him and I disagreed on so many things when we had him over to the house. Like we could have argued about so much, but we didn't because he was awesome. Like
Mhm,
there was no reason to make it a night of arguing.
no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, decent guy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I just like one of my if I were to ever, in another lifetime become president, I think one of my most satisfying things would be bringing the troops home. I like watching videos of troops just coming home to their families. I don't know why, but I think it's just making uh, uh, giving people real liberty.
Right.
I think that's the satisfying thing. I don't really want to do it for the money. I'd rather politicians get paid like significantly less than what they're paid for.
Like New Hampshire.
No, yeah, exactly, right. Some place like California, you get paid six figures as soon as you get elected, plus per diem. It's
Yeah.
insane stuff.
I think
Uh,
it should be like somewhere around like 1.5 times minimum wage or 2 times minimum wage in the state.
mm,
Something like that. I think it should be relative to minimum wage in some form, but it should be
mhm,
more than because like I'm not a fan of New Hampshire version of it because I think it disincentivizes people to like good people to participate. Um,
sure.
so or and some states are just bigger and have more things going on than New Hampshire. You can't have a part-time legislature in New York or California. It just wouldn't work the same
Mhm.
way. So yeah, I mean they don't need to be making 120, 130 grand a year, but 50, 60 somewhere in there, that's cool.
Yeah, like middle class. You shouldn't really get
Yeah.
paid than the average American,
Hmm.
um, especially since your economic policy is going to affect that tax bracket.
Right.
So,
And these people, most of them have like law degrees or something like that. Like they wouldn't be making a small amount of money outside of politics. So you
mhm.
have to at least be able to somewhat compete with what they could be making in the private sector,
Sure.
uh, to make sure that people like you and me don't get bought out by the Koch brothers and go off and do some like crazy right wing conspiracy stuff.
Sure, you don't, dude. I don't care. I love the Koch brothers, to be
I know, I know. If the Koch brothers are watching this, you can buy me out. It's okay. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm expensive, but I'll take it.
Right. Crazy.
Uh, but yeah, I definitely because I would move to New Hampshire if I could run for office and live.
And
Like
live?
like if
Oh,
I could if it was a job that paid for the bills, I would have already moved to New Hampshire and with the hopes of running for office in the near future.
sure.
But because that's not a legitimate career path, I'm looking at other states like Colorado or Michigan, where they make 70, 80 grand a year, and I could live nicely for a couple
Mhm,
of years while I'm helping people and maybe moving up in the world and using that money to help people and grow other things and do side projects. And I want to be able to live while not having to worry about like working a 9 to 5.
mhm.
So I think there's a happy medium between like New York and New Hampshire.
That's fair. Yeah. Uh,
So you had how many campaigns did you work on this cycle?
um, it was just the campaign in Michigan, the primary and then the general.
Okay.
No, this year it was a call campaign where when COVID basically first started, we went to Vegas and called for a bunch of candidates, from Idaho, Colorado, West Virginia, just a bunch of our state level candidates.
Okay.
And then then I went to and then it was Michigan. So about, I guess you could say, three. Uh,
Okay. And then there was nobody that came back. You were the only recurring person for Chase's campaign in the
yeah,
general.
yeah. So
Whole new team.
hmm great
Uh,
team. I mean, at least
yeah.
a certain portion. One guy, it was unfortunate for some people. One guy, he just fell off the face of the earth. He like popped his tape. He was a commuter,
Mm.
and he lived
Saw
about
that
like
one coming with him. Not gonna lie.
what's up?
I said I saw that coming with him. Not gonna lie.
Which one? It was
He was
the
very the one that like still lived with his mom like a half an hour away.
it wasn't him, but he had
Oh,
some
okay.
another guy who was an hour away. He like had a flat tire, I guess, and like one weekend I texted him, and I'm like, okay, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And he just never responded. So I wanted to go to his house just to check, hey man, where are you? You're supposed to be here working, just to give him a little bit, but a little bit
Yeah.
scare. But the other guy, yeah, the blonde guy, um, he apparently he has a bunch of like military medical stuff to do, and then suddenly I guess he got COVID, or he was at least he was exposed to COVID, I guess, and he had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and then after that, it was something else, and I'm like, okay, well, you're not coming back. And he didn't contact me back until I contacted his dad. Um,
Damn.
yeah, so I hope he just never goes to the military, man. Because that horrible, those horrible communication skills. You're gonna get somebody killed.
That's not gonna end well.
No, yeah, exactly. There was another guy. He seemed like a solid, hard worker. He was but he quit after a day because we walked 10 miles a day,
Mm.
at least, and I guess he said his body couldn't handle it, and he was a heavier set dude. But I've seen guys you could say worse than him do phenomenal work. They walk the walk, and they do great. But I don't think he was completely aligned either. But you didn't have to be. Even the girl that was on the campaign was great. She was a very hard worker. She was a cook for the campaign, and she cooked phenomenal food.
Nice.
Kept us from getting McDonald's and burgers and stuff like that. But she had to leave because her knees were bad from an accident she had when she was younger, um, and she just couldn't stay, unfortunately. Um, but other than that, everyone was great. I went a little bit crazy on election day. Like, yeah, if you ask like anyone that was left, I acted insane. Like, I started yelling at people, because we woke up. It was the same thing, on the primary. We woke up super early.
Right.
We had to go get breakfast, and just my ECs were doing things um, that I didn't like. That was, it wasn't bad things, but it was just things that just like didn't go with the schedule that we needed to be set to. And then by the time we ended when the polls closed, around 8, and it was cold. We were hungry, and yeah, I just went off on one of my ECs. But we're still friends. We understand the circumstances. Um, but no, like it was just other than that, it was a solid team. I love everybody. I loved everybody. Um, one guy, he had like all he ate almost every night was like a burger, fries, and a shake, and he was a really skinny dude. So I guess he had some type of high metabolism, but I couldn't comprehend, like, dude, like a burger, shake, and fries every night, like
Every night.
Like you get tired. You don't get tired of that. Like at least get a soda just to mix it up. But like the
Go to
shake,
Taco Bell.
dude, no, no. I continue to continue to like first if I were to ever become like a politician, then like I'd ban Taco Bell.
Would you ban Taco Bell?
Yeah, yeah, I would. It's disgusting, you know. um, um, I guess you're not getting a future.
Okay, statist.
That's my only status argument. Ban Taco Bell, and then we're good.
Taco Bell.
But
All right. I can, the 80-20 rule,
you
80%, so we can still be
know,
fine.
he wants to bring the troops home, but he wants to ban Taco Bell. You know.
That's hard. It's a hard I could live without Taco Bell as long as you don't take out like the better versions like Mighty Taco or like
Mhm,
other versions of it, then we're good.
mhm. And I heard they were like getting rid of the quesarito, and that was like the only good thing about Taco Bell. And now like there's nothing good about it.
So
Um,
one of my biggest regrets of this year is that I spent 5 weeks in the state of California and I did not go to In-N-Out Burger.
dude, yeah,
Not
dude,
once.
you had to. It's one of the greatest. It's one of the greatest like things in the country,
I
honestly.
just like never had time to wait in that fucking line, dude.
Oh, okay. That,
Petitioning my time was worth money, and that everyone that I talked to was like, "Oh yeah, there's one over there, but you're gonna wait in line for about an hour." And I was like,
mhm. Yeah,
"Nope,
yeah.
can't."
Things like Taco Bell, Raising Cane's, Chick-fil-A, get those long lines.
Yeah,
Um,
I got some Raising Canes in Ohio after you dropped me off there in Columbus.
Oh, nice,
That
nice.
was that was a good time. That was a fun little couple of days in that house in Ohio because everyone was just shut up in the house making phone calls for Matt Gertler.
Mhm.
And they were, yeah, that fun times. Let's just say fun
Oh,
times.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's I bet they're interesting set. Like Christian Nguyen, he's a interesting person. Ryan Blanks, he's cool. I don't know how exactly. He seems like a smart guy, and he.
I spent a lot of time with Blanks after that. Him and I went to South Carolina and then to Massachusetts before I ended up quitting and going back
Mhm.
to Michigan for the petitions.
No, nice.
Uh, yeah, I spent like the remainder of my time with Young Americans for Liberty with Ryan Blanks,
Nice.
which
He's a good.
included driving all of those distances. And yeah,
Yeah, he's a good representative for y'all. He's cool, and he's smart. Oh, speaking of congressional races, Matt one of my a disappointment was Nick Freitas in Virginia. Like that dude. I think he would have won if it was a midterms. Or it could have, or she could have. His opponent could have just had an incumbent advantage, but he got close to knocking her out, and kind of put a reality check on her and other, I guess, moderate Democrats in Congress uh, to, I guess, adjust their rhetoric and messaging.
yeah.
Um, but I hope he makes another run for it in the midterms. Um, and if he does, I don't know. I'm thinking about going on that campaign because I really do like Nick. But who knows? Um,
I
uh,
got I got multiple different people offered me job knocking doors for his house or state house reelection like end of October, and I almost did it.
oh yeah.
I came really close, but I ended up going to North Carolina instead to work
Oh,
for a friend of mine. Um, but yeah, Nick Freitas is awesome. I think he's one of the better mouthpieces for like the constitutional conservative mindset.
yeah.
Uh, I don't know that I would call him, he's not one of those people that I was like, oh, he should join the LP. You know, he's
Mhm.
he has like Thomas Massey or Matt Gates. He has a home in the Republican Party as a constitutional conservative trying to push the Republican Party in the correct direction. And I
Mhm.
think I hope to see him succeed in that mission.
Yeah, yeah,
He's great.
yeah, definitely, man, definitely. I think uh, I don't know. I don't know what's with the Republicans not like going that direction. It seems like the correct direction to go towards. You know, like you say that same, you talk about that same rhetoric,
Hmm.
um, but then you vote a bit differently in the
Right.
when you get into office. I like for the stimulus checks. I like the argument where there shouldn't. Rand Paul said there shouldn't have been any stimulus checks. You need to reopen the economy. If you reopen the economy, or at least your respective economies, then you won't need this.
Right.
These policies, these lockdown policies, obviously haven't worked, or at least they're not now. I mean, they might have worked when remember 2 weeks to slow the spread. I remember that, man.
Right.
Um,
2 weeks. 9 months ago.
dude, it's insane. And obviously, those policies didn't work, and so you need to try something different. You can't just keep locked down forever until everybody's vaccinated. Obviously, a majority of people are. So I like that argument. And don't get me wrong. Like obviously, if you're gonna compensate for damages, if the government's gonna compensate for damages, then yeah, you need direct payments.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
otherwise,
The
just don't.
government made a mess, and the government is of some liability to clean it up. And yeah, we're a lot in debt, but there's an argument to be made that like you can only argue a libertarian solution to a problem that a libertarian solution would have created. We had the problem of COVID. If we had enacted a libertarian solution to COVID and then that didn't work, then you were making the argument of, oh, it has to be, you know, fiscally conservative to the max and all taxation is theft and all that kind of stuff. It's like, no, if you want to go authoritarian, sometimes two wrongs make a right when it comes to government. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like the only time where that matters.
These libertarian challenges are interesting. A lot of people, you get those people who act, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? What about this situation? So things like a pandemic. It's interesting to think about. When you're thinking about libertarian policy
Hmm.
and what we should do. Because you could go full authority. China, at least, I mean, it's probably fake numbers, but at least they've gotten their COVID cases down. But by welding people in their homes.
Right.
Um, so
Could do that.
yeah.
Could go Belarus and just like conduct ridiculous amounts of contact tracing and then arrest everyone that could possibly have it
Mhm,
and
mhm.
then let everyone else just do their shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You hear about I don't know if Yang said it on Twitter or something, but he said we should have a way to see who has the vaccine. Which I don't think he meant anything evil by it, but it definitely that's definitely kind of Nazi-esque, you know.
It's like, ooh, what if we have like little barcode tattoos that tell you that the government could scan and be like, oh yeah, you've been vaccinated, and then also tell you everything else about your body and everything and track you and like, no,
Mhm.
I'm good, thanks though.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, man. Yeah.
No microchips for me.
No, yeah, exactly. I don't even know how, if you have something like that, I think people are going to be a bit more, like they're going to see you in a very negative way. Even it's funny in California, I don't know if it's California, just the big cities in general. Um, People are. I was walking from my car to where I am now. Uh, without a mask, and people were socially distancing. Everyone has a mask on outside.
Mhm.
So you could feel a bit weird not having a mask, or having not having a little emblem on your chest to say that you got vaccinated.
Right?
uh, so it's weird stuff, honestly. um,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man.
A lot of LP people have been, uh, I think, overusing the term COVID 1984, but it's starting to become more and more true. It's
No, it's honestly, and insane. Like LA, as soon as the LA mayor uh or turned off this dude's power in the Hollywood Hills because he had a party, I was like, okay, this is going way too far. You have, but this is what happens when the government is in control of something essential to you. If the government doesn't agree with what you're doing, then now they have the power to take that essential thing away from you. Which that's an argument for not having the government run your healthcare. Okay, now you hold these beliefs or you do this certain action. Okay, now I won't provide you healthcare now. You'll be under that threat this entire time. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's
We
insane stuff. It's disgusting stuff. Honestly, I don't know how it can't. Like, the story where a woman in LA had to close her bar. Her Even though the science goes against outside dining doesn't spread any type of COVID. She had to shut down her bar, including the outside services. Um, but someone was filming a big, I guess, some Hollywood people in the exact same parking lot doing the exact same thing she was doing was okay. I'm like, how does this not bother anyone? This is like disgusting. Like,
Yeah. How is a film crew an essential business?
yeah, exactly. It's the things. These big industries that keep, something like SoCal afloat.
Well, yeah.
So
I mean, LA would die without Hollywood.
right, exactly, man. Especially with something like the movie Milan. Yeah, dude. That movie can like lead. Did you see that movie?
I have not seen it yet.
It's not that great.
I've heard mixed reviews.
Not really. I mean, it's all okay. There's like characters that I don't think was so necessary when they took General Shang out, and I'm like, why would you do that? That he was such a great character.
Badass.
Yeah, but they wanted to take him out. They didn't want so they wanted to tell a more serious story, I guess, which I can understand. You can tell a different type of story if you want, but like you shouldn't.
Call it a different name.
Yeah, that's fair. You know.
That's been my consistent argument with all of these. Um, you know, both my argument to both sides is of these like SJW remakes is like just call it something else, and then
Yeah.
you won't have this fight. Like if you want to tell a story about a black mermaid, just don't call her Ariel.
Yeah.
And then you can't have people bitching about why do they have to make Ariel black? Because they're not. There's a different mermaid and she is black. And that's okay. Just
No,
get
yeah, exactly. And no one's gonna like no one's going to remember that story that you tried to tell. Everyone's gonna remember the original story,
over.
the white character. When you're trying to be woke, you just you
Right.
can tell a whole different story, um, a new story that could be important. Like, if they tried to make Superman black. They didn't, or I guess Captain America is technically black now if you follow the Marvel movies, but um, uh, yeah. So you didn't try to change.
Does it the right way, both with Spider-Man and Captain America, because
Mhm.
it's not Rogers or Peter Parker that's black, but yet we still got to have a black Captain America and a black Spider-Man.
No, yeah,
You don't have
exactly.
to rewrite a white character, but you get to tell a different story from a different point of view and expand people's understanding of the world.
And people love it. People love these this Black Spider Man, this other Captain America, Black Panther. People
Right.
love these stories. But you're gonna get a lot of backlash. If yeah, like you said, if you try to retell, the story that's the white character,
Yeah.
um,
And
so
it gives an unnecessary foothold to a purely stupid racist argument, like if you're actually going on social media tirading against the black Ariel, like stop. Like that's clearly something else that you're just choosing to you just happen to have a decent argument. Like if you're really arguing it of like adamantly, it's probably because you just don't like the idea of having a black person be a prominent character in a movie. You know,
Mhm.
this but so for them to give them a foothold for this just annoyance, I think it just creates an unnecessary amount of bullshit.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, and I mean, sometimes, and there's are those like exceptions. One of the things that were brought up that it's crazy how I didn't notice, but like Hamilton, obviously, all the founders and people around and free people around there around that time are white. But,
Mhm.
there's all types of different ethnicities in the play. Um,
What
um,
what annoys me the most about that, because like in Hamilton, there's a black George Washington and a black Lafayette, and like obviously those characters are white. However, they have a Hispanic Hamilton, and they keep talking about how he was from the Caribbean, and they try to make it seem like that one's accurate, and it's not, because he was still white as hell. His parents were from England and Scotland, I believe,
mhm,
something like that. Um, you know, he wasn't brown at all. He was just as white as I am. Uh, but I don't have a problem as much with like the Black George Washington character because, at this point, George Washington, I don't think it really matters if you're not trying to craft the story around their ethnicity and it's just
no,
happens to
yeah,
be an actor with a skin color playing a character as it happened in history and especially that long ago. It's like, okay, it's cool, and he was
mhm,
amazing. Like i
yeah,
would I wouldn't want to watch Hamilton without him as George Washington. So
no, yeah, exactly.
um and I think, yeah, it's about trying to like rewrite someone's story, and that that's gonna just cause unnecessary problems, and I don't understand why people want to do it.
Yeah, I actually need to like rewatch it. Like we watched it like twice in the house, and I still couldn't follow it. Like I'm still like I love some of the songs. Like "You'll Be Back" is like my favorite song
Oh yeah,
off the soundtrack. But yeah, I need to watch it again just so I can like follow it correct because they're always singing. So
they
um,
are always singing.
and
That make it difficult.
they actually came out. I don't know if it's like new or some more recent. They came out with a Grinch musical play on Hulu, and
My
that I
parents
mean,
were talking about that the other day, but I have yet to see it.
yeah, it's interesting. You make your own. I don't think any of the songs were catchy. But like I guess like when the Mr. Grinch song where he was stealing all the Christmas stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. It was just very interesting. I don't know. It's annoying, but who knows?
So we're talking about Hollywood. If Hollywood failed, SoCal failed. I'm curious, as a Californian, how do you feel about the exodus from the Bay Area that's going on right now with
Uh,
Tesla and Oracle, a few other tech giants moving out
mhm,
of Texas?
yeah, I don't know exactly why each company is moving, but I'm guessing a good part is that they can have wider profit margins in somewhere like Texas. Their companies can probably thrive a bit better. Uh, one of my friends, he was actually interning for Oracle, and he was disappointed when they were moving and they weren't bringing him with them to Texas. So that sucked. But it should give California a reality check that you need to change your policies. You can't tax people into utopia. You
Right.
know. Um, and yeah, you can't have you have to protect things like private property. Like if you're constantly one of the things which I think is kind of a things people get wrong is that poverty breeds crime when I think it's the other way around. Crime breeds poverty. Something which I'm not like I don't know if I'm a hard on crime guy, but you definitely have to have law and order for people to prosper in a nice way. So if you have someone if your property is constantly under threat, then you're not going to want to do business there, or if you do, you have to have higher insurance, so you have to have higher prices and things like that. And I don't know how these employees are going to be paid, obviously, when they get to Texas, but when in California, you have to be paid more because of the cost of living, especially in the Bay.
Oh,
Um,
right.
yeah. So it's when it comes to housing, if you move from somewhere to Texas to California, you could probably ask for like a salary raise of like $3,000, or more,
Mhm.
depending on where you are in California. So it just shows that we need to change how we do things in this state. We can't keep taxing companies, or individuals more and more and act like they're going to stay. And then you can't punish them when they want to leave.
Right.
Um, you have to. I'm not saying you have to go to full on libertarian policy or even Republican, but you have to change something to incentivize people to want to stay. You can't just use people as a revenue builder. That's not what taxes are supposed to do. Kind of. They're supposed to get revenue from taxes, but you can't. People aren't supposed to be like your source for like a constant source for more taxes, especially when you run the state like so. In my opinion, horribly.
Yeah. Um, I did enjoy my time in California this year.
Uh,
The government parts of it. Um, so are you gonna be a part of this mass exodus from California to Texas?
Probably not. Honestly, I love as much as I was talking trash about California. I love the state. I love the beaches and the weather and just California is honestly the most beautiful one. It's one of the most beautiful, if not the most beautiful place on the planet. You know.
Oh
Um.
yeah, no disagreements there. It was Colorado came in close, like a very close second for me this year, but
Oh, really?
I think California took the cake.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
It's a awesome state, but the politics is just are just horrible. Um. And I think it might be because of the culture. It could be because of low information voters. When COVID was in the middle of COVID, or when COVID was first happening, we were trying to people were wanting to go buy guns, and they were surprised about the laws. They were like, "Oh, I can't get my gun now. I have to get it 10 days uh, in advance. I mean, not in advance, but 10 days after, or I can't just get a gun for my grandpa." In California, it could be some low information voters, or it could just be just rich liberals who are in the hands of a lot of corporate Democrats,
yeah,
um, and these are very powerful positions too. Even LA County, if you're on LA City Council or LA County Supervisor, that could be arguably more powerful than the state assembly. You know, when LA City councilman got arrested, he got arrested for bribery. Because politicians, uh,
right.
a dude named a dude named a California politician named Kevin De Leon. He opted right on that. He ran for the seat, and he ran. He was a state senator, but stepped down and went to LA City Council because it's a powerful seat. There's a lot of industry that happens there. And now there's another woman who I think she's in the state assembly, and she's on the LA County Board of Supervisors now. And so she holds two offices. I think she lives in the same area. So I think it's in the California law, general California law, or in the California Constitution. You can hold those two offices if they're not necessarily a conflict of interest. Um, if which I disagree with. I don't think you should be able to hold two offices in California. And she's old, and she's super rich too. So,
we could cut down on politicians if we allowed them to multitask a little bit.
interesting. What do you mean?
Well, like if the representatives, if you get to do like more than one job like that, something that's hyper local, but then also like represent your community on a state level, that's one less politician in existence. If you're able to hold two offices, and if, like you said, if they're not a conflict of interest, if your town board meets like, or county board meets like twice a month,
Sure.
you should be home. And then that way the state senators have a better, or state assembly people have a better pulse on the local issues, because they
Hmm.
get to hear a more refined opinion of what's going on
Sure.
a local level. Would be, I mean,
Mhm.
is an
No, yeah, I
argument
mean,
to be made
you're
for doing
wrong.
that. I'm sure she's not doing it to be a better politician, but maybe.
Hmm. No, I see what you're saying. I think it's just less voices in the mix, and you become more established
Hmm.
that way. It could be harder for someone to run against you. Um, and that's not saying she can't change her opinions, but it's still one brain and on two levels of government.
Yeah,
Um,
no, that's fair, for sure.
so, but yeah, it's interesting. Like Paul, I heard, I think it might have been Montana or something, but I heard they voted for a lot of dead politicians, or at least they died somewhere on the campaign trail just right before the election.
Yes, there was. I think it was state senate or something race.
Hmm.
Yeah, dead guy got elected.
Yeah, so
I
when,
love it. I love how low in info voting. It's come full circle since the, what would have been, it would have been the third or fourth presidential election in America, where they ran a false information campaign that Adams had died, and so therefore he lost the election. It's come
Mhm,
full circle, 2020. Now the person actually died, and not enough people knew about it, so he won the election anyway.
mhm. The only good politician is the dead one, dude. To be
I mean, wood chipper go brrr.
honest. Dude,
I don't know if we can say that on YouTube.
I don't, I don't know,
I'm
dude.
gonna get shadow banned like Alex Jones.
You can't say anything on YouTube now. It's crazy how they do it now. So they created this platform that where anyone can flourish on, grow in fame or whatever they want to do. And they were really the only ones doing it at the time, because no one watches what Vimeo or I don't know whatever other video platform is there.
Yeah, I
Um,
can't even think of many.
yeah, it's really only YouTube, so they have more or less a monopoly of what's going on. And now they're abusing that. They say, oh, we could do whatever we want. Now they're saying uh, if they demonetize you, because they wanted to demonetize people that broke their policy, or their ever changing policy. Um, but they did that so much that they realize they can't make any money off those videos. They're on the platform, but they're not making any money off of it. So what they said now is that we're going to monetize your videos. Like we're going to show ads in your videos, but you're not going to get any of the money. We're going to take all the money now, which is completely unfair. But Google is such this massive company,
Yeah,
you know,
they
and
just the internet.
I'm not necessarily anti corporation, you know.
Right.
Um,
You're a good little libertarian.
this is the world libertarians want. They just want corporations to take over. But no,
I want some McNukes.
exactly, man. But now, like, they're doing something that people are generally was worried about when we're talking about big corporations. You
Mhm.
know, because they are a big reason why people are connected, and they're not public, but they are kind of a public forum, where people but now they regulate that, and now they're under threat of regulation, which I don't want. Um, so who knows what could come out of it.
More government is not the answer.
No, yeah, exactly. So
That's all I know. That's all I know. If you have a problem with Google, government's not the answer. Find a different answer, and then I'll support you.
no, exactly. It's funny. Everybody hates them. Republicans think they're being censored, which Republicans are. I think are being censored to an extent. Even progressives or Democrats think, oh, there's a bunch of lies that spread, and some progressives think you're censoring progressive people like Bernie or really anyone else. You know.
Yeah. The
Um,
Republicans hate them because they are liberal and biased, and the Democrats hate them because they are rich and powerful.
oh yeah, that's a good one.
Like
Yeah.
they're evil, but based on both people's accounts. It's like if you took the liberal educational elite and then mixed it with like Mitt Romney style, like or Bezos style, like millionaires. You're like, here,
Mhm.
just make a thing everyone will hate, and then
Yeah.
that's how you got Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
Twitter, Facebook, they all fall into that category of like
Hmm.
super rich liberals that everyone hates.
Hmm. Hmm. And I don't know. Obviously, the owners or the CEOs can't monitor everybody.
Mm.
I think if they make the message clear, hey, stop just like blatantly censoring people because it's obvious now. Um,
Yeah. Well, Twitter kind of shut down their CEO, whose name I'm going to space on at the moment. Uh,
Jack Dorsey.
he, yes, thank you.
Hmm.
Um, he got fired and then got brought back on as a kind of a power move by the board of directors to show that like you're a face because people like you and you're like the only awesome billionaire except for Musk, so like we want you to still be associated with Twitter, but you're nothing more than a face and you
Hmm.
don't control anything. So like he donated to people, like he donated to Tulsi Gabbard's campaign. He's donated to some more like Liberty Republican campaigns as well.
Jack
uh
Dorsey.
yeah.
Really?
um yeah, he's not a terrible on politics, but if you look at Twitter itself, they're like super establishment Democrat like bias, and it's just he has almost no power in the company to to affect that kind of change.
Hmm.
He's a face to do meetings and numbers and stuff, and he has a job, but it is not to figure out where who and what gets censored. That's not his job.
Hmm. No.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of, and I think like Zuckerberg has a better control handle on his company,
Yeah.
and Google is just a conglomerate of really terrible people.
That's a fair assessment. What do you think is going to happen in the next 4 years in the future? Do you think, um, yeah, what do you think is going? Do you think politics could get more polarizing? Do you think the Trump Republicans is a legitimate faction of the party, and that's what a lot of what future Republicans have to appeal to now? Or like, do you think the Republican Party could like adjust based on Trump's numbers on who voted for him. Being that he made strides in Hispanic, in Black communities.
I think a lot of the answer there depends on what he does with the rest of it. If he keeps up this like crazy person, like awesome, like paleo libertarian streak that he's had for the last like 72 hours of like vetoing a defense budget, saying he'll veto the omnibus bill, um, having people close to him at least talking about like pardoning Assange, maybe, and freaking Sarah Palin talking about it, and if he does some of these things, then um, I don't even know what kind of a domino effect that could have in the Republican Party.
Hmm.
I think the other thing that he could do is just go away. At this point, maybe 22, he's doing campaign events for congressional candidates, and maybe he writes another book. Uh, but Hi- Hillary Clinton's essentially a meaningless figure in the public eye right now, and I think by like 22 or 24, he might be kind of at that level where
Really?
his endorsement means something, but he's not him and his movement. It might falter. I don't know. That's what I see as like the most calm if the world just would return back to normal and the things that I think should happen actually happen, and we don't get like Ilhan Omar and Donald Trump teaming up to make a libertarian argument against government waste, because what, I don't even understand 2020 anymore.
Dude, it's crazy. Politics is definitely shaking up. If he does like pardon like Assange or Snowden, yeah, that will definitely like shake up Washington. Like, and that's one of the reasons I do like Trump. He does shake up uh DC, which I just find enjoyable to watch and watch politicians
Yeah.
squirm.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Couldn't agree more there.
right. So I don't know who knows. I don't know if he'll become like an Obama type figure in the party because Obama's a powerful guy in the Democrat Party. Um, I don't even know if Trump will want to do that, but
Right. That's kind of where my logic is at, is like I think he's too prideful that I think he'll be a slight amount of being a sore loser to where he'll be like, "No, you guys didn't make me win. Like you guys weren't there was too much infighting, there was too much bullshit. You guys fucked around in Congress and no, like you embarrassed me. Why would I continue to interact with you people?"
mhm,
And just kind of like walk away. I think that would be the best choice for him as a human. I think that for his sanity, for his health, for just everything, like he should probably just walk away at this
mhm.
point. But who knows if he will.
Yeah, who knows? Hopefully, another guy can run for president that can shake up the whole establishment um, on the conservative libertarian side. Well, yeah, specifically the conservative libertarian side. I mean, you can get another, um, or I guess outsider, you could say, um,
Hmm.
that the people could vote that will vote for. And I don't know who would do that. Um, I think plenty of establishment people are going to run in 2024 on the Republican side. Uh, that uh, that maybe people might not at least the Trump Republicans might not enjoy so much. Hopefully, no one is gonna run. Uh, I think she'd be the at least that in my with my little political knowledge would be the closest thing to a Trump Republican running. Um,
My counter to her would be Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz, yeah, I can see him running. Yeah.
Like if it comes down to someone mediocre-ish as the libertarian candidate, Matt Gaetz as the Republican, and Kamala Harris as the Democrat, I could almost tell you right now I'd vote for Matt Gaetz. the only way that I vote for a Republican, but
Mhm,
like I would vote for Matt Gaetz because I think he could beat Kamala Harris. I think he's the only person on the right that could beat Kamala Harris.
mhm.
If Biden doesn't run again and he's just like, yeah, here, have a Kamala Harris. She almost walks into the White House unless the Republicans put up somebody really fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I think Kristi Noem is would be somebody that would be able to challenge Kamala. But I think her uber conservative stances on a couple of things I think would ruin her chances of a full takeover with just the name recognition and everything that Kamala Harris has right now. Even
Mhm.
even just going from governor to president is statistically difficult. So maybe like Gates know him. That would be a dope ticket. I
That would be dude, I campaigned for that ticket. Yeah.
Yeah. If she changes her stance on marijuana, I would consider working for her.
Mhm.
Otherwise I don't know if I would campaign for that ticket, but I'd vote for it against Kamala Harris Pete Buttigieg ticket.
Dude, I was wondering what, like, when he won Iowa, it got me thinking, what would a Pete Buttigieg presidency look like? A younger guy, I guess, moderate, I
Pete
guess.
Buttigieg is not human. He's a CIA like cyborg plant.
What?
I don't
Is that like something in libertarian circles?
know. Actually, more in Democratic circles.
Really?
Yeah, like Birdie, or like Tulsi or Yang Gang kind of group. Yeah, because there's just like so much footage of him just like not acting normal.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Interesting.
Um, there's yeah, I mean there's one video of him like basically talking about being gay as if like he wishes he wasn't, but he is, so oh well. Like um and there's just so many there's like more picky and like nitpicky bullshit about him
Mhm.
that I've seen like on Twitter about but just like the way he eats, the way he talks, the way he walks, it's just like he just doesn't quite look normal.
Interesting. That's
So
interesting.
there's like a I don't know anyone that like actually believes it, but it's definitely a pretty common joke like on especially like far left Twitter is like,
Hmm.
yeah, Pete Buttigieg, and definitely, I know people that fully believe that he is a CIA operative, like
Really?
fully, because that wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, when a politician ends up being corrupt, it never surprises me. I mean, sometimes like it's surprising, but like, they're politicians. You're like, okay, this is just another corrupt thing another corrupt politician did. Which I'll never understand. Sure, like I know power corrupts, and like when you're in the swamp so long, or even in the respective state houses, the establishment or leadership can really get to you. Um, but like that leadership is only scary if you give it some type of legitimacy, or if you feel that you don't have, if you don't have like a root, like fundamental support within your community. So, like, like Thomas Massey is a great example of it. He came out against, um, a voice, I guess, a voice vote on the CARES Act, and leadership want to primary him with obviously someone who's just will be a lapdog for Trump. Um, but obviously, he won with over 80% of the vote in his district, which is an awesome thing because
Congressman.
he has this short film. It's called what's it, Off the Grid, where he doesn't even mention he's a Republican. Um, he talks about how he got a start in politics, about some regulation I guess his county wanted to put in, and a lot of people want to hear his vote. Um, And when you start from things like that, it's a beautiful thing. You know.
I disagree with Thomas Massey on more than one issue, and
He just
you
made
know, he's
everyone mad.
spoken against the idea of like him running for president, or like replace. A lot of people like want to replace Amash with Massey, like in a scenario that I talk about online or something, and I'm like, no, screw Massey. However, I think he would probably make the best president because he's like the only person in Washington that does not want to be president.
Hmm.
He could not be more against the idea of him sitting in the Oval Office. Like he doesn't even like what he does now.
Yeah.
He already thinks he has too much power. Like he would not want to be president. He would be the perfect president. He
No.
would
Yeah.
be the
Exactly.
first
Like,
George
okay.
Washington since George Washington.
Oh yeah, dude. Like, how come it seems like I'm a I'm a big Thomas Jefferson guy. I really like him. I think he has to be my favorite founding father because he just hated the government so much. Um, but it seems like after George Washington, there's really been no, really great president, that has those original values or that isn't seeking power, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean Jefferson wanted to be president from the
Mhm.
get-go. There's a lot of things to like about Jefferson for sure, but he's got plenty of baggage there too.
No.
Um, I mean, so does Washington, but he definitely wasn't power hungry or doing things out of any kind of malice like other
Mhm.
people. Uh, I think it's really interesting that, like, arguably the worst president was Adams, like
Mm.
right off the bat. You know, he rammed in like 6 Supreme Court justices after he lost re-election, and then locked up hundreds of reporters for uh, like printing any kind of negative press. Like he did some really tyrannical stuff that like even with the Big Brother like awful authoritarian government that we have right now would flip some shit. Like we have Assange, Snowden, and Manning. Like that's it, and that's over like 4 presidents or 3 presidents. You
Mhm.
know, Adams in 4 years locked up hundreds of people for doing similar things. Like, it's kind of crazy how quickly downhill America went.
Mhm.
And like we corrected a little bit with Jefferson and Madison. Madison kind of went downhill after he became president.
Mhm.
Monroe
Yeah.
was all right, and then from there it was just garbage.
Yeah, exactly. I think people have lost um why the thing about American government. So the way I see American government and not how I think of all Americans should see government is that government has to be is a necessary evil that we have, not our savior. And then now people think, it's our savior now. Well, at least at the beginning of COVID, people might, be mad at, our various governments now.
Yeah,
Um, but I
people are
think,
starting to wake up to the ideology that you're talking about.
yeah, yeah. So I think we get back somewhat to that liberty isn't top down, isn't a top down thing,
Right.
you know, or security, liberty or security. Obviously, it's something you have to do within your community. Solve those problems very locally. Uh, if you people have outsourced so many things, they continue to outsource a lot of the solutions they want, and now communities um, are kind of breaking because of that, or at least I think that's a big reason um, why there's polarization now. If you think a community needs to be run a certain way, um, and you want to outsource that, it's kind of it's kind of like I don't know if you ever seen The Last Airbender, but this is what I'm thinking about right now. How the Fire Nation, they're very prosperous. The Democrats are the Fire Nation, um, uh,
So
but
I have Justin O'Donnell on the show talking about Magic the Gathering. I've got you talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Just just solidifying that libertarian stereotype right here,
Yeah.
right
No, yeah.
now.
Like I don't know. It's also Legend of Korra. Legend of Korra. All the villains are government related.
That's
Um, yeah, so it's very interesting. So when I first watched it, of course, I think it's a very interesting show. I'm just another Last Airbender fan, and then I watched it as a libertarian, and I'm like, wow, this is like insane on how. And then there's this anarchist in the show he's very correct on government and what a free people should look like. He just also wants to and he wants to like kill all the world leaders, including the Avatar. And it's just very interesting on what that show is just it's just very interesting in how they think about government, how certain things lead to um, maybe unintended outcomes. Because the anarchist, um, his actions led to a full-on authoritarian taking over one of the most powerful nations in the show. Um, and it's just all it's very interesting stuff. But yeah, anyway, yeah, the Fire Nation obviously wanted to. They were obviously very prosperous, but they wanted to outsource that. He wanted to start taking over other things, and become this very powerful authoritarian figure. And I think that's kind of what people want now. And now people are fighting back against that. Like one side wants to, and it could happen on both sides. Wants to take their values and push on everybody else. The other side is tired of letting that happen, obviously, so they want to do that to the opposite side. So, um, and I don't know if it's a heavy thing, but I think it's because we haven't listened to each other um, that much. We've become very like so polarized that we're not even willing to hear the other side, and that polarizes us even more. If we're not able to listen to those different perspectives, because there's people who haven't even heard of a different perspective. Like, I had a buddy who said he was talking with a Christian girl who said she wasn't. She's against drugs. Um, I mean, that's not obvious, but she was against drugs. Um, and and he's a Christian too, and he talked to him, I guess, about some religious things about how this live and let live thing, and this could be like, I guess it was a Christian argument, but she says she has never heard that perspective before. So it's crazy how you can go through this entire all of politics not listening to a whole nother perspective that you might agree with, that isn't going to change your foundational philosophy. It goes with your foundation. It's consistent with your foundational philosophy.
Yeah.
um, but it's just crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think probably the saddest moment that I encountered in this year of politics. I was working for Vote Blue in North Carolina, and I was in a training, like an onboarding training Zoom call,
Hmm.
and they were going over the app that we used and talking about like how it displays whether or not they're a Democrat or Republican or an independent. And someone left the Zoom call and quit in that moment, sent a message into the chat and said that the idea of talking to someone who still considers themselves a Republican, just like they couldn't do that, and they quit in that moment. The second they realized that they had the chance of possibly talking to someone who's a registered Republican, they quit. And that that blew me away. I was like, that you can't get to a better world ever with that kind of a mentality.
No, yeah,
You have
exactly.
to be okay with talking to the other side.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. There was someone when we were on this camp, when I was in the general campaign, there was someone who liked what Whitmer was doing. She She might have been lower information, but she liked what Whitmer was doing with the COVID policy. But she really liked John James and Chase
Mhm.
when I talked to her about it. So if you're just willing to write someone off, and if it's because of the institutions, that's fine. You could hate institutions, but you have to be compassionate with people,
Right.
you know, because that's who you're fighting for. You're fighting for the people to change, or at least refine the institution. It's and if you get trapped in your ego, and that's the problem. A lot of people are just so trapped in their egos nowadays that
Mhm.
they just think they're right. There's no way they can, that their side is wrong, or um,
Yeah. And this polarization has led to kind of a defeatism of like it's hopeless to try to talk to these people because there's no way that they'll ever see my point of view, and both sides think that. And I've changed my point of view on so many things in the last 4 years that
mhm,
I couldn't imagine not just assuming that other people do the same, at least somewhat. Like maybe not everyone is as flaky as me on their ideals, but
mhm,
like, you have to be able to like change a little bit and progress. And, maybe you were raised super conservative, but then, you were exposed to uh, more gay people after you left your hometown and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's not, I don't need to hate this. It can exist over there. They have their own bars,
mhm,
and just coexist and just move on with your life. And if you just assume that everyone from the South is just, oh, they must hate gay people, it's just uh you can't blanket those kinds of statements and then expect any kind of progress to be made, because then everyone in the South is going to be like, oh, you're an asshole, so
mhm,
nothing you say matters, nothing you say is going to be valid. So even if you make a good argument for why they should be okay with gay marriage, they're not going to listen to you
mhm.
because you're
No.
just an asshole that just made a blanket statement that all they must be a homophobe.
Yeah, yeah. And being, from Los Angeles, I think a lot of these coastal communities forget that, the people in middle America just live a different kind of life.
Yeah.
And maybe the people from middle America do the same with the coast. They probably do. They think, they might think we're all like, you know, drug induced, weirdos,
I mean, yeah, I definitely have a certain opinion about Portland that I'm sure is probably inaccurate.
So, yeah, like probably, it's insane. Some people can't believe that it's common for people in certain religious communities or middle America communities that to have 5 kids, and then those kids have 5 kids. When a lot of people on the coast don't even want kids,
Right.
um, they forget that they go to church every weekend. They're very religious, and I think and they think that their ideology is correct, and the most people live in their community. There's a lot. Obviously, there's like 10 million people in LA County. And LA County, that's a fourth of our state in California.
Right.
Um,
Jeez.
so they might think this is the best place, and it's very beautiful. There's a lot of opportunity, industry, beauty here,
Hmm.
and they just think, oh, this is the way to live. Before I mean, this might just be because I was a kid. Before I was a kid, I thought a lot of America was like Los Angeles. Um, then you realize like the people have like large farms, and they just live in a very different way. Um,
Yeah.
and you stereotype people, and then you get those negative stereotypes, and then polarization happens. Um,
Right. We're talking about Disney Plus musicals already. Have you seen Prom by any chance?
no, no, is that new?
Fairly. It's a very. I'm not would not suggesting a watch, but there's a scene in it. So the whole concept of the movie is this high school cancels prom because this lesbian wants to bring her girlfriend. and like the rules state that it has to be a boy girl couple, and it's in Indiana, and it's like everyone goes ape shit that she wants to bring her girlfriend because she's like the only gay person in town, right?
Mhm.
Except for her girlfriend, and her girlfriend is still in the closet, so like
Mhm.
no one knows about it. It's actually like a big reveal later on uh, to everyone else, like the other characters, when they figure out who it is. Um, but there's a scene where there's a PTA meeting, and the principal, who's on the side of the girl, is like, what scares you about gay people? And then, like the the main storyline of the movie is that these three like kind of washed up actors from New York City like see this happening on Twitter and like go to help and like rally for the cause and whatever. So as he says that, they like bust into the room with fucking like signs and like a bullhorn and like start yelling at everybody in the room for being bigots and being evil people for wanting to stop this girl from being able to go to the prom, and like completely ruins any chance that they had of winning over the PTA and getting them to actually let them have prom.
Mhm.
And it's just like a complete lack of understanding. It illustrates it so beautifully, uh of just like, no, you're just, all you're doing is making the situation worse by refusing to listen and assigning blame and assigning intention. You're never going to create progress that way.
Mhm. No, exactly, exactly. So we just need to talk to each other more, not, we don't need to approve of each other's lifestyles.
Hmm.
We can again live and let live. I don't care what people do with their lives, as long as they're not trying to hurt me, just I like guns and I like my money. So, as long as you don't stop me from protecting myself and making my money, then
Right.
that's a very watered down version of like my
Yeah.
politics. But.
You just add drugs, and that's a watered down version of my politics as well.
Yeah, exactly. So, if we just do that more, I think that's actually why free speech is so important. You
Yeah.
know, I was watching a video of Steven Crowder talking with Jordan Peterson, and he was explaining it in that way. How if we're not able to talk to each other, then you create these factions, and then those factions obviously become very polarized because you're isolated from talking with each other, so you become very polarized, and then you want to cram your ideology because you think you're right on the other person, and then that you're either going to separate the country that way, or we're going to fight each other. It was I love Jordan Peterson, man. He's not even a political figure. He's just very just inspiring, insightful guy.
Yeah. I think he's definitely better if you don't try to put him as a political figure.
Mm.
You know, he has a few political, he has a few stances that are super relevant in politics and are taken in the wrong context and used a lot and as backup for dumb arguments. But like, he's not a politician. He doesn't consider himself to be a political figure. He's a psychologist. He understands people's brains and how people work. And if his knowledge of psychology is applicable to politics, then yeah, use it. But uh, people that want to call him a transphobe, that's not what it is. It's just that he doesn't agree with government mandating that you use certain words.
Yeah,
That's what you're talking about. It's a free speech issue. It has nothing to do with trans anything.
yeah, exactly.
Government mandating speech, that's bad. Just no. Let's not do that.
Yeah, it's not a controversial issue. You
It
know,
shouldn't be. Uh,
um, I heard
Unfortunately,
this.
it passed in Canada. The
Mm.
law that made him famous ended up passing.
Yeah, yeah. I remember too. I remember when that seeing the video, and obviously, and it happened not in 2016, right?
2013,
Did
2014,
it? No,
something like that. No, maybe I couldn't have been that long ago.
who
Uh,
knows? It's it's a lot, so much, so many political things happen in such a short amount of time.
So
We
much
get.
bullshit, such little time.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane stuff. I heard this argument. I was watching Tim Pool. This self-proclaimed socialist came on. I think I forgot his name, but I guess he's an intellectual in the progressive movement. Um, is it Vosh? No, that's a big. No, that's something else. It's this big. Is this big progressive YouTube? But he made the argument about the 1619 project, like Trump banning the 1619 project lessons in the federal government as a violation of free speech. Um, I don't know what you think about that.
16. So I don't agree with the 1619 project at all. I think it's based on just some dumb shit, to be
Obviously.
perfectly honest.
Mhm.
Um, however, uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would consider that free speech. I don't think misinformation is free speech, and so then you have to decide what is opinion and what is fact. And I don't think any opinion should be taught as fact in school. So you can teach people in school um, that people believe this, but you can't teach people in school that the United States was founded in 1619 because that's just not true.
Mhm. No, yeah, definitely.
So depending on what their goal was in teaching these children about the 1619 project, whether or not if they were trying to teach them a rewritten version of American history, then Trump banning that I don't think has anything to do with free speech. If they just wanted to kind of teach their opinions and why they believe what they believe, then sure, go for it. And
Yeah,
Trump stopping that would be a violation of free speech. So I'd have to look a little bit more into it.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I didn't vote in the election because I couldn't get my ballot because obviously I was in Michigan.
I was
Um,
in Colorado, so I didn't either.
Yeah. So, but that's would have been like one of my main reasons to vote for Trump is to kind of stop that ideology, or at least like those teachings in their track in their tracks. That's literally like indoctrination. You're trying to make kids more aware about race, which can't lead to anything good. If anything, that's what white supremacists want. They want kids to be more aware of their race, and that's gonna just create animosity towards each other. That's doing it. It's doing it now. The media, all they always want to report, oh, this white officer killed this black dude or black woman, or
Right.
and plays to that. The race relate the negative side of race relations in the country, and now black people really hate a lot. Some black people really don't like white people, um, and it's just getting worse. Um, and I don't know. And yeah, that's what would have been the main reason. I voted for Trump. Uh, it's just and education is just such a important thing, and especially if one of the problems is that like at least progressives want very centralized education.
Hmm.
A lot of them don't like charter schools or private schools. They'd rather have the government run schools. Um, but they also want to like teach history in their own way.
Right. Which is why they want to centralize education, because it only works if you can control the majority of the population that way. If
Hmm.
half the kids are homeschooled or private schooled, then
Hmm.
you don't get to control society well enough.
Yeah, I want to like really talk with a progressive and um, understand their way of what government should be.
Hmm.
Because I was listening to someone like Kyle Kalinske, and being a progressive, he doesn't like Republicans, and he'd rather have a progressive president, and he wants this is what I've heard from him. He wants to centralize that power within that lefty president.
Yeah.
Like he wants the president to have do Medicare for all. He wants to, of course, I mean, just as president, you can bring the troops home, but
Yeah.
that part is fine, obviously. But like, he would rather have a Congress try to challenge that lefty president on his own policies. He doesn't really want a Republican to ever win, or like Republicans control the majority. Which, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd rather have libertarians um, control the government. But
Right.
again, if you're always in power and if you're never challenged, then that's dangerous within itself. You're gonna become a tyrant. Um, it's inevitable. It's just it's scary stuff. Honestly, a lot of people just want their control in the government when um you know I think the way to liberty is just hyper localization, like I was talking about earlier. Uh,
Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
mhm. If you get there, then if we can just localize a bunch of stuff, and keep our respective governments, state governments in check, and then obviously the federal government is, severely restricted to what's in the Constitution on what their powers are. Then I think we'll get to a more united America and a better place for liberty on the planet. That's just me.
For sure. Yeah, I have a few episodes with people a little bit more on the left, but most of them are still fairly like bottom left, trying to expand the viewership, or the representation on the show a little bit, to kind of to really get a better idea of some of those of some of those things that you're talking about. But before we stop recording, I want to give you a chance to kind of pitch Yao a little bit, give people an idea of how to get involved, where to go. Man, my throat just got super dry.
No, it's all good. So yeah, Young Americans for Liberty. We're a pro-liberty organization. We're a very umbrella organization. You can be constitutionally conservative, libertarian, just small government, pro-liberty kind of person. We we have a lot of chapters across different communities, especially on college campuses, and we get involved in electoral politics. Is what it's a lot of what we talked about tonight. On the state level, David's been on a few, and he could probably vouch for some. And he's a more objective opinion.
You're a
Uh,
little bit biased there, buddy.
yeah, and they're honestly great. We're very effective, at least I think so, on these state levels. Like I said, we control a lot of the New Hampshire State House. We have officials all across the country. In Nevada, Michigan, Arizona, Texas, um, and it's at least a great opportunity to get your feet wet in politics, and it can bring other opportunities. There is one of my great buddies in Arizona. He was 18 when he ran a campaign in Arizona, and they took him to DC for I guess a seminar to learn how to make a career on Capitol Hill. And I think he's gonna do an internship pretty soon. So he's doing all this at 18. So I think, and there's another guy who has the same position as I do, but in Florida, like on like more in the southern states. Like he's 18, so it's a great opportunities if you want to get a step in politics, or even just to have on college campuses, just to have a place just to discuss your politics, or learn a lot of things.
Hmm.
um, and on the West Coast, I'm in charge of California, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Hawaii, and Alaska. So then, if any of your listeners are there, they can find me. I'm easy to find. Just Justin Jackson, the dude, dreadlocks. on any social media. Twitter, I'm not on my Twitter much, but in Twitter and Instagram, it's the same handle, Justin J _ Liberty. Get in contact with me if you want any opportunity in activism, or just wondering how to get started, get your feet wet in politics. And I have a lot of connections myself. If you think you want to try to work on Capitol Hill, I can try my best to get you those opportunities. There's a lot going on in California right now that for liberty that a lot of us are setting the foundation on how to take this state back, from these desperate politicians. But yeah, that's Young Americans for Liberty. I actually have one of our shirts, knock doors for liberty. I just happened to wear this shirt today. I was like, oh, man, this is just perfect. Um, but uh, but yeah, that's our organization in a nutshell.
All right. Yeah, if you guys want to travel the country and walk 10 miles a day, lose 30 pounds in a summer, and meet 200 voters in a day, get paid a little bit for it. YAL is a fucking awesome organization.
Yeah, we're like, no one's doing what we do in the way we do it. When I was at SAS, they have this turning point action where it's kind of the same thing. This guy came up to us saying, "Oh, we dropped a lot of literature." He was literally describing lit dropping, and he tried to translate that, numbers wise into knocking doors, and we're like, eh. And obviously, as that's not the same thing. We really hit the pavement and work hard for liberty to get these people elected on the state level, and a lot of our activists really care about what's going on in this country, as they should, and as I assume a lot of your listeners do. We get off the internet, we get off these Facebook arguments, and actually put in the work for liberty.
And then we come home and we sit in a circle and we argue with people on Facebook.
Afterwards.
Afterwards.
Yeah, afterwards. Then
and then we share our arguments with everybody, and we get to argue better because it's like 8 people arguing with this one random guy on Twitter, and it's so much better.
Yeah, exactly. You put in the work, and then you can have your Facebook arguments.
Right. As long as you're doing something to make the world a better place.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow the channel, see more updates about when content's going to come out, you can follow me or the channel on Twitter at David Fite, at Fight for Liberty. Like and subscribe here on YouTube. And if you want to help support what we're doing, you can go to patreon.com/fightforliberty and donate there and help pay for this awesome streaming service that I use. But until next time, thanks for watching. Justin, thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure. I missed working with you. I wish I was. I do regret not going back to Michigan for sure.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Until next time, keep up the fight.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to click the like and subscribe buttons below. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fight for Liberty, and support the channel at patreon.com/fightforliberty. And as always, keep up the fight.